If you've listened to FYI in the past, you know that we have spoken frequently about aging in place because aging in place looks different for different people. And no matter who we speak to as a guest, there's a different take for what's required to age in place. It's such an important topic, we're going to talk about it again today. So, if you want to know more about this, just stay tuned. Welcome to Scan FYI. My guest today is Kelsey Reardon. She is an occupational therapist from BoldAge PACE. Good morning, Kelsey.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you're here today because, as I said, we never get tired of speaking about aging in place. It is I think, one of the most important topics that we like to share with everyone. It does look different for everyone. And it's not a one size fits all, right?
Mhm.
So before we get into our conversation, Kelsey, introduce yourself and tell us you're an occupational therapist at BoldAge PACE. So tell us what that looks like.
So I have been an occupational therapist for about 12 years. I'm also a certified stroke rehabilitation specialist. My background is in adults and older adults. I used to work mainly in inpatient rehab facilities, and for about the last 4 years, I've been with BoldAge. I am lucky enough to be one of the first faces that a lot of new members of BoldAge get to meet. I get to walk around their homes with them, find out what's important to them, and really delve deeper in how we can help the older adults in our community.
So just the fact that you said you get to go into people's homes.
Mm.
So you've seen a thing or two. So aging in place has to have a very special meaning for you.
It does. And in fact, even in my personal life, I live in like a multi-generational household. I have my kids here. I live with my parents. So we're really, I experience it in my personal life and as well as my professional life.
So if someone is listening and they don't have a clear understanding of what do we mean by this concept of aging in place, would you explain that?
Sure. So, what aging in place looks like and what successful aging in place looks like is when a person really gets to choose that they would like to remain in their home safely, independently, comfortably as they age versus an alternative like a nursing home or an assisted living facility.
Okay. And of course, there's no place like home, but in order for your home to be, as you said, successfully aging
Mhm.
in place. So, what do you feel like that looks like for people who are listening? What do you need to have in your home to age in place successfully?
So, as an occupational therapist, we like to look at the whole gamut of the person. So, we look at the environment, we look at the person themselves, and then we also look at the community surrounding them. So, when you look at the environment, we're talking about the physical structure of the home. A lot of this has to do with fall prevention, safety, looking at each room, making sure it's serving the person the way that they need it to. When we're talking about environment, we're talking about, no loose throw rugs on the floor, which is something we hear a lot about. Not a lot of clutter, making sure your, cords aren't running across a threshold, making sure that commonly used items aren't out of reach, where people might tend to go for a step stool. As an occupational therapist, I walk into a house, I see step stools, the bells are ringing in my ear. Making sure that our environment is serving us is really one of the most important things that I look for. Things like lighting in commonly used areas, night lights in the hallway. Again, a lot of this is gonna center around fall prevention. When we look, oh, go ahead.
Right, yeah, that I'm really getting that from you. Fall prevention, because if your home is cluttered and you got hazards all over the floor or yeah, and you get hurt in your own home, that did not serve you well. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we look at the personal, right, we're looking at any health issues you might have, things you might be prone to, like anything from osteoarthritis to a family history of Alzheimer's. keeping your medications accessible, but out of reach, maybe out of a loved one's reach,
Right.
monitoring your blood pressure, monitoring your blood sugar, emergency medical alert systems like the fall bracelets that might alert a doctor or a EMS service if you do have a fall.
So if you know that you want to age in place, preparing your home is something that you could be doing over time. You know,
Mhm.
just well, first of all, throw rugs I feel like should be outlawed. I've said that before, and my mom had throw rugs everywhere. I couldn't take it.
I know.
And who was the first one to trip over them? She was.
Mhm.
And one day I just went crazy, and I gathered them all up and I said they're gone. That's it.
Mhm.
I
It's
said,
hard.
you know,
It's
I'm
good.
looking out for myself too, you know?
Yeah.
So no throw rugs. That's,
I know. And it's hard. The last thing I want to do is come into someone's home and say, like, these are things you've collected for your whole life, and I'm going to tell you you have to get rid of them. But there's a lot of things out there, like rug tape where you can really secure the edges. But
hmm
when you think of as someone ages, the last thing we want to picture ourselves is using a walker, using a wheelchair. But it is a reality if we are choosing to stay in our homes for our entire lives. That's something that we have to think about, right? So if you picture yourself using that cane or that walker, that gets the edge of a rug. And unfortunately, that's kind of a recipe for disaster.
Kelsey, what rooms do you feel require special attention to make sure they are really safe?
So if I could narrow it down, it would be the kitchen and the bathroom. The bathroom is unfortunately a site for a lot of falls that we see, mostly in that transition in and out of the shower. The floor can be slippery, there's water involved. Really, the best thing you can look into doing is maybe convert that tub into a walk-in shower, eliminate any excessive need to step in and out of the tub. They also make the cutouts, where you
Right.
don't have to rip your whole tub out anymore. Non-slip rugs, I know we've kind of been beating the horse a little bit, but if it can have some non-skid surface on the bottom, it just eliminates that risk of fall in the bathroom. And again, when we look at things like lighting, making sure there's a night light in the bathroom. If you do get up to use the bathroom during the night, it's well lit. You're not going to bump into anything.
Lighting is such a simple thing, and yet it's critical to have it's not like you have to turn on a huge overhead light, but having a good night light makes a tremendous difference, totally, because then you walk in the room and you see where everything is.
Right. Yep.
You see if there's a hazard on the floor or something else. Yeah.
And really, not even to get into the nitty gritty, something like switching the light switches, where it's not, your little switch up and down, it's more of like a palmed up and down. That way, if you do need to turn on the light, you can just kind of smack it with your hand.
Right,
You're
right.
not using, fine motor skills that do decrease as we age as well.
Let's talk about the kitchen because you said that that was the other really
Yes.
hazardous space in a home, potentially.
Mhm. And the kitchen really has more to do with function. So when you're thinking about yourself in your kitchen, you might be standing at the stovetop, say. If there's a pot, a pan that you're reaching for constantly, it should be pretty accessible to you. And this has more application as we're younger as well. You want to set your kitchen up for success. If you're standing at your stove, put your commonly used items close by. So you're not having to bend down to the floor, you're not reaching up too high. Again, lighting in the kitchen is a big one. If you have older adults who are living in their home in the kitchen, you can look for knobs that have automatic shutoffs. So in the event that, a burner gets left on, it will get shut off after a number of minutes to hours. They also have like sprinklers that can be installed above the stove. So God forbid it senses a fire, the sprinklers can get turned on above the stove.
Now, I'm going to say something about step stools because
Mm.
I'm 5'1", so I'm short. And it's hard, everything is tall. And
Mhm.
I did arrange my kitchen to be functional for me, but let's face it, some things are I have to use a step stool. But there are step stools that are safe and there's those little tiny horrible platforms.
Yeah.
I put them in the same category as an area a scatter rug. I have a 2-level step stool. I got it from Home Depot. It's got rubber grips on it. It's got a handle to hold on to. So I can hold on very well with one hand and reach up easily. I
Yeah.
mean, if you need a step stool, spend the money to get one that you will feel safe on and that will hold you properly, right? That's the difference.
And it really should be something that kind of stays put. You know, you're not going into a closet to pull it out every time you need it. It should be in a space where it kind of that's where it lives. Like you said, something with a little bit of heft to it, where
Right.
it, when you step on it, you know it's not going to go anywhere.
Exactly. Right.
And like with the treads on top,
I
that's
mean,
one that
my step stool lives in the kitchen because that's where I need to use it. And I actually have a second one in my bedroom because, again, things are high up. But once again, it's that really sturdy
Mhm.
platform with a handle to hold on to.
Right.
And then I feel safe. I'm not afraid to use it.
Hmm. Because we've
You
all
know,
stepped on a step stool that you're like, oh, I'm not so sure about that this is
but
gonna,
I've been to people's homes and they'll, Andrea, can you just reach something up there? Oh, here's my step stool. And it's this little tiny platform, Kelsey, no handle, no nothing. And I say to, you know what?
yeah,
I'm not
no,
going to do that.
no. And it can fold, if you can unfold it with a finger, just think of what your entire body weight can potentially do.
That's right. That's right. So, let's be safe. And you know what? If you need a step stool, get a good step stool. But if you need more than one, like I do, get more because I don't want to be carrying it around my house.
Exactly.
So you know,
Hmm.
I feel like working at Scan, I've heard many horror stories about what happens in people's homes. So I don't want to be people to be talking about Andrea like, look what happened to her.
And the last thing, we talked about the environment, we talked about the personal. The last thing you really want to look at is, expand it a little bit. Think about your community because that's also going to lend you a lot of success if you do decide to stay in your home.
Right.
Do you have neighbors that might realize that the newspaper hasn't been taken in for a day that can pop by and check on you? Do you have family in the area that might be able to help you with things like grocery shopping? Is the laundry in the basement and you have family that can help you, carry it up and down the stairs or relocate the laundry to a more accessible location. I'm sure a topic you've discussed is loneliness in seniors, and that can really contribute to a lot of different health issues that we see.
Yes.
So really keeping the community in mind as well. We're not just looking at the person in their home, but we really expand that lens to include the community.
So it's a very holistic approach to aging in place and having all the components in place.
Mhm.
And you don't do this in a weekend. You're preparing, your lifestyle, your home, getting rid of things, getting what you need. It takes a while to make your house feel safe enough that you can, like having a grab bar in the shower.
Mhm.
Maybe you've been living in your home a long time and you don't have one. What's your thought on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, prevention is the best medicine, right? And the more you can do it before you need it, the less it's going to feel like a panic and like a rush. And no one wants to live in a house that feels like a nursing home either.
Right.
You don't want, your bathroom to look clinical. And that's why nowadays there's a lot of like you can go to Home Depot, they have stainless steel grab bars, they have grab bars that are black. So the the greater, community is really recognizing that this is something that's become important to people. And again, we don't want things to look clinical or look like you're living in a hospital. And the
Right.
earlier you can do that, you can really decide what you want your home to look like before you need it to look like it.
So you can make your home aesthetically pleasing
Hmm.
and still maintain all the safety features. And I agree. People often reject the idea of a grab bar or something in the bathroom because they feel I don't want to look like I live in a hospital. But you are so correct. They make beautiful things now that because I feel like the world is responding to this idea that we need to serve that community of seniors who want to age in place.
Hmm.
And you still want your home to look nice.
Right. Hmm.
It's
Because
possible.
if you've been in your home your whole life, it has a personality, and the last thing that we or anyone would want to do is come in and take away that personality. That's part of your identity, and that's something that should be respected.
Now, one thing that Kelsey sent to me was this checklist. It is a home safety checklist, and it kind of goes throughout the home, room by room, and it's so brilliant. And I feel like everyone should take a look at this, even if you're for a friend, for a family, for an aging adult, for you, whoever is listening. I'm going to include the link in the show notes because I think it's worth having a look. And you don't have to be an older adult to live in a safe home, right, Kelsey? This applies to everyone.
Correct. Yeah. Even, you have young kids. There's safety things that apply from zero to you name it. Safety is important across the lifespan.
Absolutely. Kelsey, thank you so much for being with me and sharing. Really, to me, aging in place is one of our most important topics. I appreciate everything you brought to us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, all of Kelsey's information and information about BoldAge PACE, all in the show notes if you want to get additional information. Remember out there, if it's important to you, it's important to us. I'm Andrea Tarr, and we'll see you next time on Scan FYI. Bye, everyone, and bye, Kelsey.
Bye.